All information contained in this podcast is general in nature and does not consider your individual circumstances. You should consider the appropriateness of this information with regards to your individual objectives, financial situation, and needs. Welcome to Sharing More Than the Sheets, a podcast to help you and your partner make better financial and lifestyle decisions so that you can both focus on the things that you love. I'm your host, Michael Khouri, financial planner, green thumb, husband, and just dad. This podcast is part of a short series to help and encourage current and potential small business owners to improve and grow. I will be talking to experts in their fields, as well as successful business owners, and we will be discussing what they do and how they do it so well. In this podcast series, we've talked about so many different parts of a business, and a topic that I really wanted to hone in on more than ever is marketing messages. Now, when I think of marketing, I think of an industry expert in my field named Lisa Greensill. Lisa Greensill is a certified story brand guide. I won't tell you what story brand is. I'll leave that up to Lisa to explain. But I've invited Lisa to be here with us to talk about this topic, which I honestly feel will help a lot of businesses, and it will help, as she explains it, it'll help her messages, the business's message and their website to go from literally blah, blah, aha, to something that stands out and targets their ideal clients. Lisa, thank you so much for joining us.
I'm so excited to be here, Michael.
You know, to me, marketing has always been something I'm so passionate about. And personally, I feel like for any business, it's the foundation that any business is really established from in a way, or expanded from, because marketing is the message, it's the communication, it's the way a business's customers it's the way they perceive that business and the way they interact with it. I definitely haven't explained that as well as you could have, but if you can sort of start off just by talking about what story brand is and the importance of this whole marketing message that I'm trying to get to.
Yeah, sure. I guess a good way to actually kind of kick off with it is to sort of talk about the biggest mistakes you see businesses, any kind of business, not just financial advisors, but a lot of small businesses, the mistakes they make and why the marketing messaging is so important. So it'll just give some context to why, what story brand is and why it's important. So I see, so many businesses make the same mistakes, and one big one is random acts of marketing. So that's, you go off and you might do some social media posts here and there, you get a cinematic video created, you go and get a website designed with all these moving, shining things that look incredible, but without a solid foundation, which is, like you had said, the messaging strategy. So, and the other, I see the other mistakes is, the websites and marketing are filled with clutter and speak to a broad audience, which means they really speak to no one, and their marketing's basically getting lost. And a big one is you see businesses talk about themselves too much. It is something you see a lot in professional services especially, which is what I come across in financial advice businesses. But in a lot of businesses, they, on their website in particular, they talk about themselves too much. And this is why having the right foundations in place for your marketing is so important. And the foundations are being super clear about who you want to attract to your business and messaging that speaks directly to those people. And so this is what story brand is all about. It's basically a marketing methodology based on the principles of storytelling where the client is the center of the story, not the business.
How does story brand differ or the concept, how does the story brand concept differ to any other marketing strategy that a business would put together or would explore?
So there's nothing new about it in that it's based on the principles of storytelling, and storytelling's been used, since advertising and marketing has been around. But what the creator of Story Brand, Donald Miller, has cleverly done is he's basically created a framework that that businesses can use to simplify their message, which then they can use across all their marketing. So it uses Donald Miller, and like all marketers and businesses know, like, he understood the power of story and how it compels the human brain to take notice, because story helps us create a visual in our mind. So it basically, story brands broken up into kind of two parts. It's broken up into the messaging framework and the marketing funnel. But what I only really want to focus on the messaging framework today. And that's what if people have heard a story brand, the 7-part messaging framework is also referred to as a brand script. So if you think of it like your marketing message on a page, it's like a script that a writer for a movie would use to create the script for the movie. And so this gives a framework. It gives basically businesses a formula for getting all the kind of the ideas and knowledge out of their head, and it gives them a formula for simplifying that into clear sound bites for their marketing.
Yeah, that makes sense then, because you've got your standard marketing 101, the things that businesses all should be doing and the ways they should be doing it. But yeah, it's, I guess, for any business, the issue with any type of development, especially marketing, is not knowing where to begin, and not knowing what path to follow as well.
And I guess that's perfect in that this really should be the first step anyone does before they even go to build a website, before they go and build a freebie download, before they do email nurture sequences, before social media posts, before Google Ads. It all starts with the marketing message.
You're right. That makes a lot of sense, because I see a lot of businesses where they're, for example, let's say it's a naturopath, for example, and they're really good at being a naturopath, and they do their studies and they work out their processes and all the rest of it. They start the business, and then eventually they get time to create a website, or eventually they get time to fix up their logo. And then they, like what you said, they do a bit of social media advertising here and a bit of that, and then they try this and they try that, and there's no strategy to it. Like it's just all over the place, and that's what a lot of businesses do without realizing.
Yeah, and particularly small businesses, because as a small business owner yourself and myself, you've got so much to do. And marketing is a huge machine, and it's broken, and there's so many parts to it that I think people get quite overwhelmed and end up doing the random acts of marketing because it feels like they're doing something. And in most cases, they're just reacting to what other businesses are doing, and without, like you said, without the strategy. And I don't think people actually understand what messaging is unless you're a marketer or a business that's gone through it. I think people don't actually know, when you say I do messaging, you do get quite a lot of blank looks, because I don't think people understand that step is so crucial in marketing. Most businesses completely skip that step. So it's why their website doesn't convert, like it just sits there collecting dust, rather than your website. Your website should actually be, your 24/7 salesperson. Should be you should see it like that. It's like a machine that should be working for you.
It really reminds me of financial planning in a way where, when we sit with a client and we talk to them about the situation and we find out more about them, and then we go and we put together this strategy, this plan, and provide a bit of a roadmap for that person to follow, compared to what most people do that don't have a financial advisor, where they'll get information from this person, they'll talk to their cousin Jeff and their uncle Pete at the barbecue, or they'll Google something and Facebook something and do all these different things that they think probably sound good and will probably work out for them. But normally they realize 5 or 10 years later that was probably not a good idea. But, it's just like ad hoc or just randomly doing things, and as a business, like if a business is listening to this and they're like, okay, what do I need to do? Like, what are the steps or what are the processes that they need to sort of follow.
Yeah, well, but first of all, that was a brilliant analogy, and that wasn't practiced. So that was really, it was such a great analogy. It'd be like just doing random bits of your financial situation without a strategy of where you want to get to, what you're trying to achieve. And so that's the same. So probably what a useful thing would be is if I step you through the 7-part story brand framework. And
Yep.
you mentioned a naturopath there, so I'll use the example of a naturopath as we go through the framework.
Definitely. Yeah. Perfect.
So I guess the reason it's called story brand is if we think about movies and books, they mostly follow a similar formula. Now, this is very, general and overview. There's a hero. They have an ambition. They want to achieve they want to achieve something, but there's a villain or there's obstacles in their way to achieving what they want to achieve. They generally meet someone, a guide or someone else who's going to help them achieve their ambition and overcome the obstacles. And that person is going to make a plan and they're going to take action and they're going to avoid failure and they're going to win the day. That is basically how most movies and books work, right? So that's how the premise of story brand came around. It's basically the journey of the hero who is the client. So it all starts, step 1 of the story brand framework is there's a character. And that character enters the story and they want to achieve something. So that's your client. The character's your client. So in the case of like a naturopath or a nutritionist, that client could be a 40-something-year-old woman with kids, and what she wants is to feel energized. She wants to not be tired. She wants to feel energized, and that's why she's going to see the nutritionist. She has the step 2 in the framework is the character has a problem, and the problem's broken down into 3 parts: external problem, internal, how that problem makes you feel, and philosophical. Why is that just so wrong? So to use the example of the nutritionist client, the problem for the 40-something-year-old woman is that she's busy juggling work and kids, and she doesn't have time to look after herself. Now, there's heaps more problems, but for the purpose of today's, podcast and time, they're 2 key problems, right? Now, those problems make her feel exhausted and overwhelmed. So that's how she feels. That's the internal problem. And the philosophical, why is it so wrong? Well, life's too short to just survive. You deserve to live. So I'm sort of building the brand script as we're going along here to demonstrate how this works. So just to go back, we've got a character, that's the 40-something-year-old woman. She's got problems. She's busy, doesn't have any time. She feels exhausted and overwhelmed. But, that's no way to live life, right? So this person meets a guide. So that's you. That's the nutritionist if we're looking at the business. And that guide, in the brand script, it's broken up into 2 parts: empathy and authority. So you show empathy by showing that you understand. So you could say, I get it. I've been there. If this nutritionist, the nutritionist, this is where they build kind of that connection around, I've got 2 kids. I've running a business. I've been there. I've been burnt out. I've hit rock bottom and I know what it's like. That's building empathy and showing you understand how the client feels. And then the authority is, well, I'm the right person to help you because, well, I've been there, plus I've got all these qualifications and experience. So see how that's really the first time we've even spoken about ourselves as the business, and everything up until that point is about the client.
Instead of coming out at the beginning and saying, this is me, this is what we do, this is how good we are, these are our awards.
Correct. See how that didn't even come into it till after because what we're showing is we understand you. We get you. We know what problems you're going through and we're the right people to help you. Here's our qualifications. Here's why. So the next step is step 4, and that's that the guide gives them a plan. So this is where you show people how easy it is to work with you, and you break it down into 3 easy steps. Step 1, how do people engage with you? So say, and this is like the first thing they do. So for a nutrition, it might be, schedule a free 5-minute call or 10-minute call, or it could be schedule an appointment. It just depends. It depends on your kind of client experience. It could be, I'd say for a nutritionist, it would be, schedule an introductory appointment. It's the first thing people do, and it's really clear, right? The second, step 2 is, what's the outcome of working with us? So it would be, we create a nutrition and health plan tailored to your life and schedule. And step 3 is, what's the outcome? What's the ultimate end game here? And that's, you can enjoy life, with the energy you used to have when you're in your 20s. Or, I'm just making this up as I go, but can you see there how it sort of gives people a visual? It's like, this is how you get in contact. This is what's going to happen. We're going to make a plan. So people can I like to think you need to visualize what it's like. And then step 3 is the ultimate end game. So then if we look at part 5 of the story brand framework, this is where we call them to action. This is where we tell them exactly what the next step is. So there's 2 parts to that, a direct call to action. So the direct call to action was that step 1 we just talked about. What's the ultimate thing you're trying to get people to do? So if people come to your website, do you want them to schedule an appointment? Do you want them to, if the nutritionist actually sells products, it might be, order. Now it's whatever the main thing you want people to do. So don't confuse people. It's the thing that you would repeat over and over on your website. So on my website, it's schedule a call. That's for me, I need to speak to people before I get them to pay for any of my services. It's similar for a financial advisor. They usually do a triage call, I like to call it. So it depends on your business, but it needs to be really clear. That's the direct call to action.
These podcasts have been brought to you by Better Financial Planning Australia. To book a free 15-minute phone chat, visit betterfinancialplanning.com.au.
The transitional call to action, it's always good to have one of those on your website as well, which is something you can give people who aren't quite ready to, schedule that call or schedule that appointment, but they're interested. They just want a little bit more information. So that's where you'd have like a freebie download, or it might be a quiz. Like for a nutritionist, they could do, take the, are you burnt out quiz, or something like that. That gives you the opportunity to, demonstrate your expertise and build credibility. And generally that is followed up with a, email nurture sequence.
So the way I see it is, it's like you're not, instead of assuming that the customer or the client's going to work it out themselves, or to work out how to contact you, or to work out how your services are going to assist them, it's sort of like give it to them on a silver platter.
Exactly. Make it so clear. Make it so clear, because this is the thing, people don't have time to decipher and work things out. They're so being bombarded with thousands of messages every day. So, in terms of a website, you've basically got 5 seconds to grab someone's attention. So, and once you've got their attention, you ultimately want to drive them to the sale. So, what's the next step to drive them to the sale for you? And it really depends in your business. But I'd say with a nutritionist, with something like a nutritionist or a naturopath, it would generally, book an introductory appointment. And that would probably be, there would be a cost for that. Or it could be, book a free 10-minute chat to see if I'm the right fit to help you. But you're making it so, and I'm visualizing, this is the button. This is like the button you have on your website, the right-hand corner at top of your website and throughout your website, in varying sections. So it's just not making people think too hard.
Yes, and I can see why this is so important as well. To I can see why it's so important to plan these things as well before you create your website and before you generate your business cards and print them out. And I mean, to be honest with you, I even think before you even think of your business name, just to know what process you're going to follow or who you're going to who like what you said, who the character in this story is, so that you can focus all these things around that particular person.
That's completely correct. So the first thing you should be doing is, number one, who are your dream clients? And I like to drill down really deep with, really specifically with clients around, who are the specific type of people. So, if I was working with this nutritionist, I don't work with nutritionists, but if I was, I would drill down to identify for that 40-something-year-old woman, like, where do they live? What's their kind of income? Like I get really specific, because with marketing, if you can be, with anything you write, you really should only ever write to one person, because then it speaks directly to that person. And if there's one, there's many more of them. So it's just about being really clear about who it is you want to attract to your business, and not being too broad about it. So you see people go, oh yeah, I can help, but I can help everybody. Like I'm, a nutritionist, I can help everybody. And you can, but, I know from running a business that it's, in terms of your systems and processes and in terms of your marketing, it's a whole lot easier if you can speak to a specific group of people.
And if a business is listening to this and they're like, okay, whoops, I've been running already for a couple of years. I've already got my website. I've already got my business cards. Would you say is it too late for them to go back and? I mean, it's never too late, but would you say it's too hard for them to go back and review all this? Or?
Sorry, I jumped over you there.
Yeah, no, because you've probably heard that question heaps of times.
Yeah, I would say absolutely not. I think sometimes it's like you've got to be in business a little while to really understand, who it is you're trying to attract to your business and get clear about your services. I know, like I'm just about to redo my messaging on my website, and I've been in this particular business for a year and changed it already once last year. So it's an ongoing process because it evolves as you evolve your business. So, but it has a profound impact on everything that you do if you can get this right. And it makes everything you do in marketing so much easier because you're not guessing. And I mean, I guess we've jumped a little bit we haven't quite finished the framework. So did you want me to keep talking about finish off the 7-step framework?
Yeah, please. But I do like that, what you were just explaining about that, like for a business, it's, if they've already started their business and they've just, literally gone with the flow and did what they thought they needed to do marketing wise, A, it's not too late. And B, like what you said, it's probably a good time to look at it now because they've been operating for a while. They've probably worked out who they want to work with, who they don't want to work with. And yeah, it probably makes a lot of sense because starting a business, there are so many unknowns and you could plan these things, and planning is better than not planning, of course, but you don't really know till you start working and the business is operating and you can see what the day-to-day operations look like, But yeah, please, if you can continue with that process, because I really like that the whole story brand thing is so structured and that it's, and like what you said, it gives business owners something to follow because they've got something to work towards.
Yeah, well, what it does is it gets all that chaos that's going on in your head and it helps you simplify it, which is how my brain works. I like to organize and take things from chaos to, calm. So it's all that. Every business owner is the same. We've got so many things we're doing. We've got so many ideas running around in your head. It's worth doing this brand script to just get all those ideas out in a logical framework. It breaks it up, it breaks all those ideas and knowledge up.
Yeah, and half the time it's not knowing where to start as well, just like when you take anything on.
Yeah.
And that leads to procrastination as well, because you just put things off. You're like, I'll just deal with it later.
Or
Suddenly 3
overwhelm
years
as
have
well.
passed.
And it's overwhelm, I think. And I think it's just, and it's also, I think that people just don't have the understanding that this is such an important part of marketing. So, it's podcasts like this and that help get the message out there about how important it is to do your messaging strategy before you do spend all that money on all those other parts of marketing that you're actually wasting money on if you don't get your messaging strategy right.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're almost through the framework. We got up to the step 5, which was calling the client to action with the direct call to action and the transitional call to action, which was the a freebie download or a quiz or a webinar or something like that. So in step 6 of the framework, we note down it basically, how are we going to help them avoid failure? What terrible things could happen if they don't get our help? So in the nutritionist example, if that 40-something-year-old woman doesn't get some help and get her health and eating right, then it'll probably lead to burnout. She'll be cranky all the time and likely miss out on work and other opportunities in life. Like what we're talking about here is if she doesn't, basically what are the terrible things that could happen if she doesn't come and work with me as a nutritionist. But then what we also want to say in step 5, in part 5 of the framework, is what does success look like? How will our services positively affect their life? So for this person, they'll have the energy to play with their kids, motivation to get things done, and they'll be able to, the energy to achieve their goals. So you can see there you're kind of creating a visual of what success looks like. So that's essentially the 7-part framework. And what it is, it's called, another way people would have heard of it is called a brand script. And it's like a marketing message on a page. So it's really just the dot points. It's the starting point that you then use to build out the rest of your marketing.
Yeah, no, it's honestly, like, I love it because it lays out, I feel it lays out the processes of what a person normally thinks, like a customer or a client when they look at something. But as I said, you're doing it for them. It's like, as I said, like, for example, let's say I'm looking for, I don't know, let's say I want to buy a plant for my front yard.
Mm-hmm.
I go there, I go to Bunnings, I'm looking at the plants. So suddenly, in a way, I'm the hero because I'm looking for it. And then problem is I need a plant. I start looking around. I find a plant. I work out what I need to do. I got to take it to the cash register. I then think, hold on a second, I then have second thoughts about buying the plant, but then I think if I don't buy the plant, I'm not going to have a nice plant at the front of my house. But then I go home and I plant it and the house looks great because I've got a nice plant at the front. Now, this is probably the worst example I could have given, but the point is, instead of me as the customer going through that process myself without anyone there, if the business is explaining it to someone and being there along the journey, or at least going through that thought process, it just makes, you're making it easier for your customer, basically.
Well, that's it. And you're like, if when businesses do it well, because when you go to a website, and I use the example of a website because it for most businesses, and particularly the service businesses, it's the center of your marketing universe, right? So I feel like that I need to talk about websites and use the example of them, because if you get your website right as the next step of your marketing journey, then that gives you a really good foundation. So when you go to a website that has a strategy behind it, a messaging strategy behind it, you feel like it's written and speaking directly to you. You know what I mean? Like, you go there, you keep scrolling because you're like, oh yes, these people get me and they're the perfect fit to help me, because they're not speaking to a broad audience, right? They're literally speaking to me. and my problems, and they understand my problems, and they understand what success looks like for me. And they've made it it's easy. I understand how the process is going to work. And that's the whole premise behind it, is that it puts the client at the center of everything that you do.
You know what it reminds me of? It really just like this whole story brand process. And I mean, this is probably where this story brand's probably played into a part into what I'm about to explain. But it reminds me of those infomercials that you see on TV. When we used to see them more back in the days, but now when you turn on a random channel on TV, it's just infomercial after infomercial. But they're like, hey, do you have a problem with hair sticking to your cat or something random? And then they'll just show these videos of the problem and say, but we got the solution. And then every 2 seconds, there's a call to action. So call us right now, and it's literally explaining the whole thing. And so, yeah. And as a customer or a client, you don't even realize that the business is doing that to you, but they are, and it just makes things easier, and it makes you go along with that journey.
Well, yeah, and it makes you feel like you have to do it because it's so perfect for you. That's my exact, you're like going, that's my exact problem. That's exactly what I'm experiencing. But I want to feel like this. I want to, you want to be something else. You want to be, feel better, be richer, be more, feel more secure. So that's what advertising's been using these strategies since advertising's been a thing. And all Story Brand has done is it's basically created a very smart framework to create exactly what you're talking about. So, you see it on sales pages. If you've ever bought, you see it you see it on the web all the time. It's taking you, the websites, you just keep scrolling. They've used this, they may not have used Story Brand, but they've used the same kind of strategy, identify what people want, identify the problems that are stopping them from getting what they want, tell them why you're the perfect, people to solve the problem, use things like, you see, client testimonials, things like that, give them a plan, and then tell them what failure would look like if they don't do it, but then show them what success looks like. It's a pretty simple formula when you break it down like that. But what I found was, and I've been in marketing for a long time, when I came across Story Brand, it was actually introduced to me by a client. I just felt like, this is amazing. I knew everything that I've just said to you before, all these years, but it really just gives it this really simple framework to get you started.
Yeah, and it makes so much sense. And I really appreciate you joining us, Lisa, to talk about it. Again, I feel most people that would be listening to this would probably be evaluating their current business's strategy already in their minds. And if somebody does want to take things to the next step, or they want to learn more about Story Brand, how can they do that?
So I would suggest reading Donald Miller's books. So first read Building a Story Brand. It's really easy. It's a really easy read, and it'll really explain what we've talked about today in a whole lot more detail. And then have a read of Marketing Made Simple by Donald Miller. That builds on, as I said, Story Brand it's broken up into two parts, the messaging framework and the marketing framework. So the Marketing Makes Simple shows you how to take that marketing message and build your website, your freebie download, your email nurture sequence. It gives you the formula for that. So it's pretty clever. And it just filled with aha moments that will help small business owners. So I'd suggest reading those books. If you're not if you prefer to do courses, then you can take the online course at Business Made Simple. And there's a link in the footer of my website. So my website is lisagreensill.com. And if you go to the footer, there's a link to the Business Made Simple University. And there's way more courses in there than just the Story Brand messaging and marketing framework. It's actually a brilliant, very cost-effective way to learn some of these amazing frameworks. And if I suggest people get to understand story brand, and once they do, they can engage the services of a certified story brand guide that specialises in their industry, and they can go to clarifymymessage.com to find story brand certified guides, either in their area or that specialise specifically in their industry.
No, perfect. Thank you, Lisa. And lastly, with all our episodes, I like to finish off with a dad joke. So I hope you're ready.
I'm ready.
But why don't pirates take baths before they walk the plank? They just wash up on shore. I know.
That's awesome.
I tried to find something about stories, but I couldn't. But
your kids must love your dad jokes.
Oh, they do.
Yeah,
I mean,
they love them.
They've actually been popping them out themselves. So I'm actually really proud of them lately.
That's so cool.
Yeah, but
love it.
And I've already said this on other episodes, but my son got me a dad joke for Christmas, a dad joke book for Christmas.
Oh, did he? So there you go.
Yeah.
You'll have lots of material for this year's podcast.
Oh, heaps. I got the next 3 years sorted. Thank you so much, Lisa. I really appreciate your time again. And I encourage anyone listening to this to just take that next step and just do it, not procrastinate, read the book, touch base with someone that can help them, and, hopefully they can help their message go from being, blah, blah, blah to actually standing out. So again, thank you so much, and I really appreciate your time.
Thanks, Michael.
Thanks for joining us on Sharing More Than the Sheets. Please make sure you subscribe to be updated with future episode releases, and feel free to share this episode with any friends or family that you think it might benefit. Please visit us at sharingmorethanthesheets.com.au to submit questions or requests for future podcast topics. These podcasts have been brought to you by Better Financial Planning Australia. To book a 15-minute phone chat, visit betterfinancialplanning.com.au.